Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to be talking about the SDR call center and the SDR autopilot system. So I'm going to talk about where it came from, why we made it, and why it might help you get a little bit of a higher lead to set, and then hopefully close more deals. I don't know, maybe, we'll see. So why did we create the SDR call center? I've been running teams and doing outbound since about 2010 when I got out of the army. So actually that's about a lie, about 2012, right? Which is when I opened up my first gym. So I used to do sales. I just found myself as a sales rep. I didn't plan on it. I didn't think this would be my life. I'm very thankful that it is, because as Kanye once said, my life is dope and I do dope shit, right? But like someone who specialized in outbound sales, and had done a lot of it, was not really part of the plan. But who knows? I did sales for gyms basically nonstop for about 6 years. And I would do sales 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. And I would just do outbound. I didn't know that inbound calls were a thing. I thought that the way that you got it was I would just get a CSV file, because Excel, it was about $1 a minute with a phone, but like you have a high pickup rate because it's your phone. And I'm gonna go into that in a different video about the differences between your soft phone, the dialers, and some of the rules around it, and the difference between your phone and why it works so much better from a pickup and contact rate standpoint rather than what you're using now, most likely. However, it's ultimately unscalable, and you don't want everyone having their own personal phone numbers attached to everything they're doing, because that's weird. So I was doing outbound dialing all day and just making sales. From that, my goal was around 2 sales an hour. So I would work for about 8 hours a day. Of that, I could sell for about 6 to 7 of it. So my goal was anywhere between 12 to 14 sales per day, of anywhere between a $97 and a $197 program, which is usually some sort of 28-day challenge. And then every now and then we would go to like a $1,600 program, and then I would bump it down to about 8 sales a day, so like 1 sale an hour, because those calls were generally a little bit longer, or I had to bring more people into the gym to be able to sell it. But I was really focused on doing gym sales over the phone without bringing them into a consult. The main reason for that is because I found the show up rate to the consult, it negated any benefit to just not closing them over the phone, even though the close rate was lower, but the lead to sale was higher, okay? And those are important things to know, because that's how I learned how to problem solve sales. I literally just finished about a half-an-hour video on how I problem solve sales. We might include it somewhere here as a free gift or whatever to help you out, okay? So why the SDR call center? So after running all those things, I run about 100 businesses in terms of these sales, ranging from fintechs like Airwallex. They're a large fintech in Australia. I think one of the most valuable companies in Australia, or second most fintech or whatever it is in the Southern Hemisphere. I've done stuff for like Libman cleaning products. I've done stuff for like Bradley at LightSpeed, done a lot of things, done stuff in some of the acquisitions companies like NCI and Gym Launch. So sort of been spread out. And then obviously had my own business being Sales Sniper, where we did done for you sales, and then ran a large sales training organization for about 4 years, of which we're getting 30, 40,000 leads a month, and we did a lot of outbound. It was a large component of it. However, one of the ultimate frustrations that I've had, whether it be running any company, whether it's in Sales Sniper, my own stuff, or at that sales training company, was that eventually the CRM broke. And what I mean by that is that the dialing component would absolutely die. The reason for that is because we would get so many dials that the pickup rate just kind of slowly dropped into oblivion, to where it would end up being around 1%. Now I thought that was like a weird anomaly, and I thought that like rotating phone numbers would work, and I thought all these things, and at the end of the day, they really didn't. We tried local presence, we tried all that stuff, and ultimately they worked for a little bit and then died. So I didn't really have the time to dive in deep and to figure out how, so the way that we fixed that is by throwing human suffering at it, right? Just get a lot of people to do stuff, you know what I mean? But ultimately I saw it as a really big issue amongst a large amount of industries, not just the high ticket, but a lot of different industries, whether it be solar, whether it be insurance, whether it be all these things, and they're struggling. So when I exited from my last business and I had a little bit of time, a little bit of money to play with, I was like, man, I really want to solve this problem. Not because I'm particularly passionate about outbound and call centers. However, it feels like a real problem to solve, and it was a real bugbear of mine. And so I went out to fix it. What I discovered is that ultimately those systems are doomed to fail. The reason being is because they stand up very quickly. They're really easy to use. You can rotate numbers and get new phone numbers, and you can get international numbers in a heartbeat, right? And that convenience is ultimately what is the downfall of the system. There's a couple other ones as well, but I'll explain more. So if we have a look at the fundamental how the telcos work, and this is if you're really into the telco space, and this is a simplified version, right? So we have a telco, so something like an AT&T or a Telstra or whatever it is, of whatever country you're in. That's who's issuing the phone numbers, the people with the infrastructure, right? The people with the cell towers and the lines and all that kind of stuff. They're issuing numbers. Now then you have on top of that, you have a data analytics company. That's an independent company that's contracted instructed to track everything that's going on in the network. That's every interaction, every call thing, because they have to from a volume perspective, but also they're trying to protect their customers from scammers like you. You're not a scammer, but you're being put into that same little genre, okay? Because you're dialing people, doing it too much, okay? Because they're not picking up, so I get it, right? However, you're gonna cause yourself some issues, and I'm gonna go over that later. There's a data analytics company, they track everything. If someone hangs up straight away, they track it. It's algorithmically, and there's software that's looking for stuff that is like, what's genuine human interaction? What does it call friends and family, right? Because we know that those phone calls look a certain way. Those texts look a certain way, right? So it's like that they can tell that. So they know that that's a real phone. If I was to call from my phone, I would get a very high pickup rate, all that kind of stuff, because that's a real human number. It's been issued by a telco to me directly, okay? There's no third party involved, right? Then from there, we have that data analytics company, and then above them, we have sort of three main buckets, right? And I'm sure there's more, but this is as many things as like affects me. One is like personal communication. So on a phone, talking to your mom, right? Me talking to your mom, she picks up, hey sweetie, last night was great. Got him! Thank you very much, right? So, but you know, they know that it's me talking to mom, right? The next thing is we have like businesses, like registered businesses, you know, people going through the right thing, they're getting their lines, they're getting their mobiles, you know, they're getting them from the telco, they can still do outbound dialing, all that kind of stuff from it, but they're registered businesses, right? The next thing is where you scumbags come in, which is where you're buying your numbers off third parties, right? So the reason why you can buy numbers so quickly, like, you know that like, you know, in order to get a phone number, like you have to go through a process, right? You know, burner phones are hard to get these days because like you have to like put ID and stuff down to get one of these in most places, right? That's because they want to track who's going, because they want to stop scammers from using phones to call old ladies and selling them, you know, stupid shit, right? So that third party is where like VoIP numbers and all these really quick numbers come from, where you can get a UK number in 10 seconds. I used to use one called Crazy Call. I get a number anywhere in the world in like 2 seconds. It was fantastic. It really helped me out because I was doing sales all over the world, and I could just scroll through and have it come up as a local number so that I'm not calling someone in the UK from a Texas number, right? Because that's just silly. No one's gonna pick that up, right? Now, is that a real UK number? No, it's a spoofed number, okay? So the caller ID is coming up as that, but really it's a series of VoIP and interactions and stuff like that. It's not a real number that's been issued to me by a UK telco, okay? Because that would be quite difficult. These systems are utilized by scammers a lot. And so as soon as you buy numbers off this particular bucket, you're automatically in like the high we're looking at you bucket specifically, yes you, we're looking at you specifically for dodginess, because call centers, and I'm sure you've all been called by them, but most call centers are built off the back of these like really quick to raise and really quick to burn systems. Okay, why? It's because they're scraping data and calling a large list. Our call center will never do that because everyone that comes into our ecosystem that we dial has to be GDRP compliant, okay? So we are audited with that. We are DNC list audited. We have to register each number. It takes us a couple of weeks to get phone numbers. They're quite expensive. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of rigmarole involved in everything that we do. And that is what affords us the things that we're afforded, which is why we can usually, no guarantees, thank you Taylor, why we can get larger than average or pickup rates and contact rates and stuff like that. So like we can actually handle less leads. For us, a full-time SDR will only be able to handle about 500 leads per month. That'll be about 150 hours because of the dialing cadence that we've set up, our high contact rate, our high pickup rates, and the fact that around 63% of the time is spent talking to leads and prospects, right? So you can imagine like the most I've been able to get through in an hour is 25 leads while sitting there on the dialer, just having it ring. I've only been able to get through 25 because I've had good pickup rates and I've had good conversations and I've made sets and I've gone through, and I'm not able to really get more than that because I'm talking to 6 or 7 people an hour, right? So you can't punch through 10,000 leads because you speak to people, right? So, and that's fundamentally the big difference, right? Our system is difficult to set up. There is a large barrier of entry, being both money and time. We've spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands. We're contracted for millions, right? We're on the hook for millions of dollars over the next couple of years. And we are giving our clients access to an enterprise level system that they couldn't dream of affording, right? And we're doing that because we're able to do it at scale. There's a very high minimum seat. It's in the high hundreds minimum seat that we had to agree to, right? And so what we're doing doing is we're taking our seats and then we've built out the system in a very particular way with a bespoke cadence that I've developed over the last, 12 years of doing full-time sales that is within the FCC guidelines and regulations, which I'll go into in a second, that gives us the maximum amount of dials that we can do without harassing people, is structured in a way that gives us the best opportunity to be able to talk to people, because that's really what we're looking for. We just want to talk to people, you know what I mean? So, and that lead to set, goes up because you're talking to a higher volume of the lead, right? The other thing that we give is we give hardworking people. A lot of our guys are out of Africa or other countries like that with very minimal accents. We have a quite heavy 4-week quality assurance process they have to go to, and they all have call center backgrounds. Are we looking to get the highest quality killer unicorn SDRs? No, we're not, right? Because you can't afford them, right? And if you do have a unicorn SDR, guess what, champ? You'll be a sales rep next week, right? There is no rock star SDR. And the reason is because it's not a rock star position. It's the guy playing the triangle. You still need it. That little ding is fire and it works really well and it's very important, right? Or it's the bass player, right? It gives you, that nice melody and that rhythm, but it's not the guy that's screaming out front with panties getting popped in his face, okay? It's not that person. You're never gonna get a rock star SDR. And if you do, they're only there for a week and they're doing something else, right? So what we're looking for is oak trees, people who can sit there, stay in the saddle, dial your leads for 8 hours a day, right? 8 hours a day with a system that is designed to maximize the efficiency of those leads on numbers that are certified and registered with custom caller IDs that come up as your name, right? With a speed to lead of 5 to 15 minutes during work hours, and not a speed to lead that's like relying on some guy going to the top of a list. No, as soon as that lead is generated, it auto slots in as the next call, right? On a cadence that the person cannot control, right? They are the passenger in that system. They are not the driver. They do not decide who to call, when to call, why to call, what to call. That is all decided for them in a system that we've designed to get the highest possible contact rates that we can, so that we can get the highest lead to set possible, so that you can stop mucking around paying $100 for a book call, or paying 22-year-old SDRs to sit down, jerk off, play Xbox, dial 100 leads a day and pretend to be working, right? Also, if somebody wants to pause our system or our dialer, they have to tell us why. Every single second they're on that thing is being counted, right? And you are only gonna be charged from our SDR call center, if you decide to go down the route of us being your SDRs, for the time that people are working your leads. That's it. 20 bucks an hour, $5 a book call. It's the goddamn greatest offer you've ever heard. It's the biggest no-brainer ever. I created it after being frustrated for years with systems that are ill-equipped to do what we need to do, with wasting money on excess leads, paying people who do not want to be in the role, spending 3 months training an SDR and $10,000 on ad spend, another $10,000 on bases and commissions and managers, right? And CRM fees, to then have the person finally get good enough to make me an ROI and then go, boss, I want to be a closer. So then I have to make them a closer, right? Or I've just paid to train somebody else's SDR, and then they suck for 3 months. And I spend $50,000 on leads and $20,000 on this and this and this. Now I'm $80,000 into this person, and they probably produced me $50,000 worth of revenue. It's a shit system. Entry-level positions, it's very difficult to invest in them because you rarely get the ROI back. And so what we've done is created a system that I think is fantastic, and I think is a culmination of all the years of my learning, the 100 sales teams that I've run, and the years and years of doing outbound sales myself, and I think gonna be a fucking ripper.